Please be seated. Chag Sameach. Last week, on the Hartman podcast, for heaven's sake, which has become since October 7th the most popular podcast in the Jewish world, Doniel Hartman and Yossi Klein Halevi. So they were discussing this peace plan, and at the time the ceasefire even the first phase hadn't come to bear fruit yet. But they were analyzing, all the pundits say, how far can you go? What could actually happen? What's pie in the sky? How much will be realized? What is this moment going to take us to? And then Doniel Hartman says, more than anything, what I want to ask myself is, can I allow myself to hope? Can I allow myself to hope? Right? Bring the hostages back home, the ceasefire in Gaza, but so much more. We put aside this terrible cycle that's been going on for decades and have the actual reset. We can't be certain, but we want to be able to allow to hope. Right? This was the day 2 years ago in the Hebrew calendar in Israel when the whole situation collapsed. And October 7th happened. And really what October 7th did, maybe more than anything, is destroy any feeling of hope for Israelis for peace. It was the most devastating effect, maybe, of October 7th, was the fear, but the feeling there was just no hope. And it really put a nail in the coffin of 20 years of depression since the breakdown of the Oslo Accords. Right? In the 90s, there was just tremendous feeling of hope when the Oslo Accords were first coming out. Israelis started trying to embrace peace. They learned Arabic. They went to try and learn what can we do to learn about the Palestinians. And there was this big opening towards peace. And then Rabbi was assassinated, but even more, it was the Palestinian rejection of our peace offers to them, and the beginning of the Second Intifada that broke down the optimism. And all the peace parties disintegrated in those years. And the Israelis saw that while they were airy with peace, the other side was building up weapons and factories and getting ready to attack Israel, the Palestinian factions and the Palestinian Authority itself. And then a massive suicide bombing campaign terrorized and traumatized Israel. It was just this great, complete loss of hope. And so the Israelis just girded themselves for a long stalemate. They built a wall to stop the suicide bombings. And when the Gaza withdrawal led to Hamas taking over and then all the rockets, it just hardened the Israeli public even more to hope. There was no more hope. You couldn't allow yourself to hope. It was only realpolitik. No one can't be naive. That was how Israelis understood those years. And October 7th was the final straw. Right? The most open-hearted Israelis to the Palestinians were the ones who were killed and tortured on that day, the ones who drove Gazans to Israeli hospitals, the ones who employed Gazans in their homes who then became informants for Hamas. And then the sheer brutality of the attack just made hope disappear. And I know Israelis who've been peaceniks who after that day became hardened and felt we've got to become like Sparta. But something about this deal, something about the totality of it, about all the Arab nations involved in it, the uncompromising pressure to adopt it, the return of the hostages, when everything got into its worst moment, suddenly opens up that hope, a hope we haven't felt in all those years. We can't be certain, but we can at least open the door. It's what somehow coming with this whole cycle in our season. First, the intense self-examination of Rosh Hashanah and Elul, Slichot. What do we want our year to look like? What do we put into the pot of our new year? What do we think about before we blow out the candles on our cake? All the prayers and thoughts. Then Yom Kippur, a day where we transcend all the limitations, we transcend everything, we go into our Holy of Holies. And then we try and build a structure around it on Sukkot. And we rejoice in just living and loving and being with the people in our lives. And then we marked a substantial change in our liturgy yesterday, praying for rain. And suddenly the season shifted. It was successful. It rained all night. And here we go, back to regular life. And we dance with our new self. And we dance with this hope for peace. And the truth is, we dance every year, whatever happens. Every year is a new year. And in the end, it doesn't even matter what happens, because we have the anchor of the Torah. We have its stories, we have its teachings, and every year we hear them differently. They're a comfort to us in a world that's ever changing and ever transforming. They're that foundation that guides us and keeps us tethered. And so when we heard that black news 2 years ago, October 7th, we canceled the music, but we still danced with the Torahs, because there was nothing else that we could do. We would not stop being who we are. We would not stop doing what we do. We danced and we held the Torahs tight. And for 2 years, we interpreted the Torah to give us hope in a time of hopelessness. And now, 2 years later, our dance is a little bit different. We dance with a little bit of lightness to our step, a little bit of joy. Maybe we look forward to a year where we can interpret the Torah differently, not only about a broken world, but also about a little hope of healing. If healing can come to Israel, then maybe healing can come and bring new life elsewhere too. We don't know yet. But when we are down, we can never imagine being up. And when we're up, we forget what it's like to be down. We have the Torah. There's a spiritual adage that, how do you survive all the vicissitudes of life? Life throws us so many vicissitudes. How do we survive it? Well, it says if you're spinning in all directions, how do you stop yourself from getting dizzy and falling on the floor? You hold on to a pole, and then instead of falling down, you're going around the pole. And so our pole is Torah, and our pole is God. Our pole is our relationship. And so we hope that this year in our step as we dance, even if it turns sour and the peace doesn't come as we hope, we'll still find our step, and we'll still dance. And our stories will help us, and there'll be another time for that joy to be reborn and for redemption to come. Another time for it to blossom and find expression. And we never let go of that pole. We never will until that day far off, or maybe just around the corner, and we'll know that at last we can't let go. And then we can just fly into the skies of everlasting joy and peace, and know our mission has come to fulfillment. Chag Sameach.